right, I'm the teeniest, tiniest bit early. I'm just making sure everything's working. It's been a minute. I haven't done this since last year. So, as per usual, if you're here for the stream, I'm going to do the podcast, and then if you're hanging out afterwards, we could chat after that. Let me get everything in order, and we'll get this show started right now. Yeah, one moment, please. Gotta move my cursor. Gotta put it there. Welcome to Fables of Our Deconstruction, a podcast where we examine our systems of faith and culture together as we grow as people. I'm your host, Dylan. If you like what you hear, check me out at patreon.com/Dylan. If you'd like to be on a future episode, leave me a message at 515-318-7569. You could text it too, or find Fables of Our Deconstruction at Anchor FM and leave me a voice message. Leave your name, otherwise I will keep you anonymous. Let's get into this. A little over a year ago, I started this podcast talking about Santa and Jesus in an episode that was aptly named Santa Christ. This title is a tad clickbaity, and that has worked well for me. In it, I discuss how Jesus, like Santa, is a myth and that we can tell one another these stories. It's a myth to make us behave, a myth to comfort with thoughts of gifts like an afterlife. One of the tenets of that myth is known as the Santa conspiracy. The number one rule about Santa, possibly like Christ, is that we do not tell anyone that he's imaginary. On the contrary, the consensus is that we reinforce Santa belief as long as possible with things like movies, books, presents, and various other imagery. We never tell a child there is no Santa. It doesn't take much Googling to find statistics on conspiracies. Santa most assuredly does not exist, yet there is a near global conspiracy to ensure that kids believe it. Humorously enough, it flies in the face of the statistics we know and trust. There's a loose equation for how we measure how well a conspired secret is kept. The first factor is the degree of chance that anyone involved with a conspiracy would slip up or even blow the whistle. Next is the number of people who know the secret. Finally, the growth or shrinkage of the group. Are there a lot of conspirators alive still? Are more learning the truth? Ultimately, the more people that get involved with a conspiracy, the steeper the risk of spoiling the secret, and the more people learn it. It's easier that the secret gets out if there's a lot of people involved. Eventually, the conspiracy falls apart. This is one of the leading reasons why the rabbit hole of government conspiracy theories doesn't hold much water. The government, like any other organization, has a troubling time keeping any secret, let alone the fact that all of us atheists are lizards. But I digress. This is about Santa. We know Santa isn't real, yet much of the population does any number of things to keep the idea alive. Maybe you've seen the episode of John Oliver where he details conspiracies and you're exhausted by my rehash. Maybe you're already wondering the obvious. Does Santa even fit into this category? One of the key traits in the Santa mythos for modern Americans is losing belief in him. The event that ended your belief is almost a rite of passage, especially here in America. I was unable to find good statistics, but if you look around, it's obvious that despite the number of those keeping Santa alive, there's a good deal of us who don't care. There might even be a few of us blowing the whistle on Santa, regardless of the consensus. So maybe Santa doesn't qualify as a conspiracy theory. Or a conspiracy, that is. The thing I want to take away from the idea of a supposed Santa conspiracy is the little part that purists urge. Almost every one of us has heard someone say, I know you don't believe in Santa anymore, but don't tell anyone, okay? Little Billy down the street still believes, and he needs it. There's a variety of great skeptical ways to discuss Santa with anyone of any age and belief. If you want to know that I am aware of that, we're going to fix that one right there. I want you to know that I'm aware of that, but know also that I'm not here to talk about that part today. We're focusing on the persistent urging to keep our knowledge of the secret, secret. Wrapped up somewhere in that urgency is a metaphor for the pleading that atheists shut their mouth. I want that thought to linger like a Werther's as we carry on. An argument you may hear for not spoiling the Santa secret for another kid is that other grown-ups are desperate to keep that magic alive. That's something I find both interesting and humorous, that they're interested in magic when theirs seems to be lost. Their lives got rooted in reality like all of us, and they're out there participating in the real world. I guess from that perspective, I probably can see the lust for magic. But wouldn't you rather have reality? Wouldn't you rather know what's true? When it comes to magic, there's any number of witchery that we can turn to through our adolescence. I'm still working on deep diving devils and taking apart miracles. However, this year, in the year 2023, man, I'm introducing a new segment I'm calling I Don't Believe. In these episodes, I will explore all the things that we might fight to keep alive just for the sake of the magic. Whether it's Bigfoot, weird lights in the sky, witchcraft, or even numerology, I want to get uncomfortably close to why so many of us still believe in them. I want to look at why I believed in them, and I want to decide whether or not there are parts of them that are worth embracing, even though I no longer believe. I need to be straight up with you. When it comes to the world of woo woo, I'm pretty far from convinced. I'm not just some outsider with no experience, though. I'm actively involved in the world of cryptozoology, not as a believer, but as an artist and someone with an investment in parts of the cryptozoological culture. I've been on ghost hunts, I've gone on haunted tours, I've seen weird lights in the sky that I couldn't explain. I've owned books on magic, and I even practiced them. I've prayed and played with Ouija boards, and I'm still not convinced. For several years, I was not convinced, but I had hope, and I'm not sure I have that hope anymore. I wanted to have faith that there was magic in the world. I wanted desperately to believe that secrets, like the falsehood of Santa, could not all be true. My desire was sincere, but private. The piece of my puzzle pushing me to know and to search was my disability. Having mild cerebral palsy is absolutely something I can live with, but it makes me different. It makes my life harder, and it's always going to be there. Having bah, having even a tiny grain of hope there was some magic in the world, some avenue where I could be fixed, was enough to keep me invested. I spent hours imagining a world where I'd play instruments without extra struggle, worlds where maybe I'm athletic, worlds in which I feel normal, all worlds that needed that little sprig of magic to work. At that time, I didn't want this secret exposed to me. I didn't want to know that there's no good evidence for what I was looking at. I didn't want to know what it was like to know that what I believed wasn't true. That journey through what I believed could be true starts next time. I don't want you to be stuck on a downer, so know that I have worked through and am currently working through all of it. That's a big part of what this whole podcast is for. So please join me next time as we enter the world of the early internet and the weird. Oh, it's a new year, so happy new year. Also, I have some friends up in Sioux Falls with a brand new horror podcast. Screams from the Basement with Sam and Casey is a bi-weekly horror podcast in which two friends discuss all things horror, including recent watches, collectibles, and more. If you're into horror films or even just the genre, check out Screams from the Basement and get in on the ground level. They are starting this Friday. You can catch them on Anchor FM, Spotify, and Google on Friday, January 6th, 2023. This is your opportunity to get on a show when it's brand spanking new. This has been Fables of Our Deconstruction. Fables of Our Deconstruction is created by me, Dylan Jacobson. Please like and review Fables wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to join my community, the Brimstone Order, at patreon.com/Dylan. If you can't support on Patreon, likes and reviews always help. You can find me on Substack at Brimstone Studios and follow that for even more information. I'd like to thank Apes of the State for the use of their song Moments a Year From Now as my intro and outro. And remember, you are never alone. We are in this together. Boom! Podcasted. I don't see anybody here, so I'm probably going to bounce, which is okay. That's okay. No big deal. Thanks for being here. It's been a pretty good morning. I'll see you all later. Have a great day. Bye.